I want Ben to see what I have in my hands and what I am doing.
Oh, yeah. Where's your microphone, Ben?
I forgot that.
Yeah, pretty crucial part. You can't start the 51st episode of the Belligerent Beavs Podcast without a little snafu.
Wait, but you can't have the windscreen in front of that silky smooth stash.
That's right. It's still there.
Oh,
because we just witnessed the Beavs. Moving on.
we all have things to show. Terry, you go first. Oh, you go second, I guess, because Benny showed. Oh, that's not nearly as fun. You're lighting a candle.
It's not. It's not nearly as fun. But Benny pulled one of these out and lit a joint.
I thought you were gonna do that.
Oh, that would have been amazing.
I could smoke a joint, but I don't have a joint. So if you want to be like the Nick Swardson bit from when we were in college a million years ago, and go to Tijuana and buy one joint, or a Geo Metro, or heroin. That's an inside joke. We're not actually doing heroin. None of us have ever done that before. And we're not going to tonight. But we are going to be really happy because Oregon State baseball is going to the Super Regionals, baby.
Yeah. Hey guys, we should take a selfie.
Yeah. What is?
What is that?
This is magic. This is magic shit.
What is that?
Should we smile?
The part
it's a
of
video.
Terry that loves Harry Potter.
Wait, is this a
so
video?
intrigued with
Yes.
this. We're taking a video of us taking a video.
I know this is an audio medium, but listener, a Hogwarts candle just started floating behind JP and started taking pictures of us. So the giant nerd on this podcast who loves Harry Potter so much that he has a Harry Potter tattoo is just a little freaked out.
I'm downloading it now. I'll send you guys the video.
What is it? Is that just a drone that I'm confused?
Yeah, it's the Snapchat drone.
Wait.
Oh, wow.
Wait, Snapchat's still the thing?
Yeah.
Oh.
We're slowly becoming those parents that say, how do you log on to Facebook?
I know. On the book face?
Yeah.
Right. Well, you could, I want to say you could use that as a clever way to spy on somebody if it wasn't loud as shit.
How tight is that, though?
That is cool.
It's really cool.
And to just keep the Harry Potter imagery going, like you did just hold out your palm like ever so gently, like it was a golden snitch before a fucking Quidditch match.
Yeah, and it
just started floating away. It just started floating away.
And then it knows when your hand is under it again to land.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, man.
Dude, it did it for my
Technology.
5-year-old earlier. He was able to land on his little 5-year-old hands.
The machine. This is the bridge too far. They're learning too much. As geeked out as I am on just seeing that right now, I'm terrified of where this might go from here.
I'll bring it to the Montana State game.
Ooh, yeah.
Speaking of the Montana State game, the Bebes scooped our tickets for that game, which went on sale today, Beaver Nation. We've got a football segment scheduled. It'll take a back seat on this episode to the Diamond Sports, of course. But yeah, September 17th at Providence Park in downtown Portland, in the shadow of the apartment building I used to live in, the Portland Towers, a.k.a. the Salmon Towers, the original drip system. Long before that term was coined on the most enthusiastic Oregon State podcast on the internet. JP slept in my drip system, and that sentence
Too many
out
times.
as dirty as it should be.
And
so we're
home to Mount McChicken wrapper.
dude. I have tried to explain to my parents the amount of McDonald's we had back in the very post college Portland days, and they literally don't believe me. And they know me. They know me pretty well. There's no way you guys got McDonald's that much.
Twice a day?
There absolutely is. We had to walk. First of all, we had to walk by that Burnside McDonald's to get home based on no matter where we went, unless we went up to 23rd, we could miss it. But even if we did that, we could still smell it. You could smell that McDonald's from blocks away. And that was before all of these late night
it couldn't get delivered.
It's true.
The DoorDash wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
So the Burnside McDonald's having a fucking walk-up window because you're obviously too drunk to drive through. And even this was before Uber too. I remember getting in cabs with you fellas and asking the cab driver to take us through the McDonald's drive-through. And it was like 50-50. It was a dangerous game to be like, you'd get in and they'd be like, where are you going? You tell them your address and they'd be like, okay, cool. And then you'd be like, and if it's not too much trouble, can we get McDonald's? And they'd either be like, yeah, sure, or fuck you.
Yeah, get out.
And
then we'd also be like, hey, we're only paying with card. And they'd be like, definitely get out of
definitely
this cab.
No. We'll get you. You can get in on this McDonald's order though, man. How I know that was a karma thing though, because you guys remember the street sort of that like ran perpendicular to Burnside that was on Marathon, that Marathon was on?
Yeah.
Or is on. Marathon still exists. But it's a one-way going away from Burnside. Going north.
Past the hookah bar.
Past the hookah bar. And also past the turn into that McDonald's. I remember one time we got in a cab. We got in a cab that was parked facing that way. It's a one-way. And we were like, we're going back to the Portland Towers, the Salmon Towers, whatever. And we also asked him, can you take us through the McDonald's drive-through, which is right there? And he was like, no, I'm not doing that. And he did an illegal U-turn so he could turn right on Burnside, but had to go the wrong way on a one-way just for a little bit to do it. And a cop saw him and pulled him over. And we're like, the McDonald's was a legal turn, dude. Like, that 8-minute detour would have saved you an illegal UE ticket. So yeah.
Probably would have bought him a McChicken too.
I would have bought him 2 McChickens. We were balling at that point.
Oh man,
right.
did we not already talk about this? So that they had the little McBites, and those things were
the spicy chicken McBites were one of the
Right?
best McDonald's menus of all time.
Yeah,
And they need to bring that shit back.
You guys.
Oh, this segment sponsored by McDonald's 10-piece McNuggets and
some
half-eaten fries.
Nothing's changed.
Oh man, yeah. Nothing has changed.
Oregon State baseball with a crucial, historic, spellbinding win today, and we're talking about the McDonald's menu from 2011 on here. That's why you're here, though. That's why you're here, though. You're not here for the takes. You're here for the spicy McBites nostalgia. They're fucking good. Those, to put it in perspective, the spicy chicken McBites were as good as Cooper Jerpy was on the mound.
Ooh, man. How cool is that to see him come out in the 8th and 9th inning tonight?
Dude. Yeah, it had a little Bumgarner vibes. Bumgarner Game 7 of the 2014 World Series vibes. And to be honest with you, what's really even more funny to me about that is, like, Cooper's one of those, like, stoically aggro pitchers where it's like he's on the mound and you can tell like nothing is flustering him. And then as soon as he steps off the mound, it's just like emotion explosion. And that reminds me of Mad Bum, but also there's something about his delivery where he's got that like 3/4 arm, like side slinger motion going that is very similar to a Madison Bumgarner. So all of that combined was incredible to see because you don't see that very often, and that was one of the greatest feats in sports. And I'm not going to say that Cooper's performance today and this last weekend was one of the greatest feats in sports. I mean, it was very, very helpful for this team. Yeah. But there's a long road ahead to make that performance like that to be, you know, one of the best in sports.
We're not saying it's one of the greatest performances.
I think, I mean, like we were texting about it. It's some of us were about how Oregon State just didn't look like the team that maybe we thought they were a month ago, going into this series, especially after that game with New Mexico State. But
it was tough.
It's about surviving, right? Like you at this point, it's about surviving. And if you look at some of the other schools that were supposed to breeze through their regionals, they're having trouble. Like Stanford's playing right now to a team that they've already lost to. So it's anything can happen, and you just need to get out of those. And it was great for us to know that you can rely on, Jerpy late in some of those games. So that I thought that was great to see.
He had one failure this weekend. Do you guys know what I'm going to say?
One failure.
I'm eager.
He couldn't help TV color guy Kevin Stocker find a late night food place with a big TV within a 20-foot radius of his hotel, whatever the goddamn request was.
So insane.
So there's a lot of talk about the announcing team assigned to the Corvallis Regional, and I was annoyed at points. Where do you go to get a bite to eat in this town was
that's a bad take.
I was like, almost by the end of the weekend and today I watched just about every out, I think, close to it, and was paying attention to JP's Warriors and GP2 winning game 2 last night. We'll mention that a little bit more as well. So my attention was split a little bit. I was like kind of charmed by them by the end of the weekend. Like they kind of won me over a little bit. Because them being like kind of like, what do you do in Corvallis? Like that's what opens the opportunity for Murphy's on the River to deliver two prime rib dinners to the press box during the game. Like that was just amazing.
Yeah. Can I just jump in and say Oregon State baseball, a solid number 2 in the hierarchy of good weekends. Murphy's on the River, clearly number 1. They had the best weekend of marketing that any restaurant in Corvallis could ask for.
Exactly. And then also, I mean, Kevin Stocker was in college in like the late 80s. So I felt for him a little bit because he was like, I got into town and I just wanted to watch game 1 of the NBA finals. And people were like, go to fucking Peacock. like guys in their 50s on a Thursday night watching, who just want to watch sports. Peacock's maybe not the best crowd for that. But
or maybe. Kidding me? Yeah.
Or maybe. Maybe.
Depends on what kind of crowd you're looking for.
I'm not sure.
And if you're looking for TVs or not.
Tommy's. Come on. Tommy's 4th Street Bar and Grill. Easy. That's exactly. Yeah. Good comfort food. Lots of TVs. Tommy's. Right. I did enjoy that. Like, I don't know, Beaver fans were just like, let's now take this moment to hype up all the businesses we love in Corvallis on Twitter. For sure. And that's always fun. That's essentially why we started this podcast, because we just want to talk about squirrels once a week and other random establishments. Just be like, dude, fucking Block 15. I miss it so much. Oh, man. So, So shout out to all Corvallis, especially Murphy's on the River, though. Whoever, like... I'm sure that they had the game on and they knew they were closing before the game would be over, and just for them to be like, let's take these over to the ballpark before it's too late.
That's opportunistic right there.
Let's make an eager Beaver. Yep.
Do you know if either one of those guys had called the game with each other? Or I guess they both would. But it seemed like that was the first time that they were calling a game together.
It certainly was their first time in Corvallis, it seemed like.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
I feel like you get those kind of national guys, and they come in, and they always talk that way about Corvallis. Like they try to downplay like what it's grown into, and like lean into the old-fashioned sleepiness of the town. Like,
of course, the fans are so knowledgeable. What else are they gonna do with their time here?
There's no one to get food.
Fans are staying till the last out. What else are they gonna do?
They didn't say that. They're delivering food with robots, but I haven't found a place to get food. What is going on? I understand it too, though, because like. There's the need or the want to just have a really polished announcers crew. And I also didn't even think they're that bad, so I don't want to shit on them. There's a couple takes that annoyed me. And a lot of Beaver fans, I think fans of all the teams were frustrated with the umpiring in this series, especially the strike zone. It just seemed pretty inconsistent. A lot of reviews for and against Oregon State. They didn't go our way, but also just like sort of just like really confusing reviews that took a while, which generally indicates they'd be overturned. And the announcers were letting the umpires have it. Like they weren't holding back.
There was no review overturned this weekend.
None of them were overturned?
None.
No, but a lot of them took like a long time, where it's like, if it's going to, and since like the official call would be like, oh, it just stands or confirmed. But yeah, I think, the point I was just trying to make is that there were 2,000 college baseball games this weekend across the country that they're stretched thin with broadcasters. This is a major tournament, but with a ton of games. Yeah. And just the amount of runs that were scored just indicates how much fucking baseball was played this weekend. But I loved it. A lot of excitement, a lot of fireworks and regionals across the country. The tournament has lived up to its billing and its hype. Very exciting. And the Beavs are moving on, and it's exciting stuff.
Yeah, I think that for all the faults that the announcers had, I do think that it was very obvious that they were taken aback by the sort of environment and atmosphere that comes with Goss. One thing that they made a huge point in showcasing that I think is worthwhile to bring up on the pod is the classiness of Oregon State fans. And I think we know it, Beaver Nation knows it, but it was good to see that displayed on a national level when we were in a tough game, and it was by no means won yet. And Ian Mejia of New Mexico State, they're now ace of a pitcher, started the season as a number 3 pitcher, comes out of the game after throwing 123 pitches. I think it was high up there.
Yeah.
Gets a standing ovation from the crowd. You guys watch more baseball historically than I do, but I've awesome. Never seen that before.
Yeah, he was incredible. And I think that there is a bit about the fan base that says, we can, show respect to an admirable and impressive performance, but there must have been a part of the fan base that was standing and clapping to be like, thank God you are out of the game.
100%.
Taking him out. Taking him out.
Yeah, and I'll take it all day if we want to construe that as like, well, look at the respect from the Oregon State fan base. Like, sure, why not?
It is respectful.
Yeah.
He pitched his ass off. And was really frustrating us. God, that was a more stressful Friday night than I was hoping to have.
No kidding.
Hey, before we get into that, let's do some beers. Because we're going to talk a lot baseball. We'll talk a lot of Diamond Sports.
We're talking a lot of baseball.
And we've already gone deep, but
we're already getting deeper than Matthew Gretler's moonshot today. I was trying to figure out who to shout out. Him, Justin Boyd, Jacob Melton, so many of them.
Yeah.
But we should talk about substances before we get back to talking about our team.
Substances, if you are of that, I don't know, pronunciation variety.
Sure. That too. JP, I want to hear yours first. I already saw you pour your beer.
Yeah.
It looks nice. You're crushing the presentation department. As always.
Thanks.
What are we enjoying over there in Northeast Portland tonight?
This is from Tavor. If you remember my other beer delivery service. And,
it's been a while.
Yeah, it has been a while. I did pause it for a little bit just because I was like, you're getting a ton of beers. But it's from Forgotten Road Ales, and they're actually based in Graham, North Carolina.
Shout out North Carolina listeners.
Yeah.
Eric Fluge. Flu guy. Eric, who we met in West Lafayette, Benny.
Oh yeah.
One of our North Carolina.
It's just going over
Take your
Benny's
shirt
head.
off and throw it around your head like a helicopter.
There we
North
go.
Carolina is number one for Belligerent Beavs listeners besides the West Coast and Minnesota.
Yeah, JP played 5 seconds of Raised Up by Petey Pablo.
Yeah.
There you go, Benny.
Thank you.
It's their double dry hopped Galaxy Sunshine IPA.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Galaxy Sunshine. All right.
Yeah, with it's a New England IPA with Galaxy Eldorado Citra Mosaic hops, and that it's citrusy and smooth and delicious. So I enjoy it. Penny, what was that?
Eric Fluge just tweeted at me right as you were talking about him, Terry.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Spooky.
Yeah, he's listening.
Well, Eric, you're not listening to this right now as we're recording it, but right after we're publishing it.
So we
about 12 to 24 hours later, someone's Twitter fingers are burning, I guess. What's up, Eric? Thanks for unintentionally guesting on the podcast.
I gave it a 4.1, by the way. So it's good. It's above good.
Maui, wowie.
Nice.
Yeah. I'm only the 178th person to review this beer.
And
I'm in Oregon
damn.
across the entire country. So cool.
Okay. Well, listener, take that data with whatever interest you want. Only 178th person. We haven't gotten 178 reviews of this podcast yet, so I'm going to use this opportunity
good idea.
encourage the listener to head on over, especially if you're listening on Apple Podcasts. I don't know why you would, but most of our listeners do. I can't stand Apple Podcasts, but this isn't about that. This is about giving us positive reviews on Apple Podcasts. Go over there, give us Belligerent Beavs a 5-star review, please, and write what you like about the show. What's your favorite beer? Put that in there. That's good to know. And then we'll drink that beer, and then JP will score it on Untapped. That's fun, right? And if you're a Spotify listener, give us 5 stars on Spotify. We want to get to the point where our rating is publicized, or the number of ratings we've gotten is publicized. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stars only on Apple Podcasts on Spotify. Thank you. Benny, are you still drinking Foster's? Bazana.
It is Australian.
Nice.
And I'm cracking it right now.
That is, baby.
That is a little more shaken up.
That is a giant can of beer. Beer, coffee, beer, coffee.
Bazana.
Beer.
You said it was shaken up. I was wondering if Bazana had given it a nice shake and just chugged the whole can. I feel like he could probably just slam one of those.
Oh yeah, he could slam him like the best of the blokes.
Yep,
yeah,
100%. Slam, giant home run, or a crafty bunt single. He does it all. That's why he's Australian for noise.
He's Australian for noise. I became a little Bazana fanboy over the weekend, which
it's been
it was out of control over the weekend. And I will say he didn't have I don't think he started the series off super well. He had an okay end of the series, but his passion and intensity that he brings to the game is great. When I'm blanking on our pitcher's name that had that amazing glove flip to first base to get
Brock Townsend.
Yes.
So when he had the that great play, if you look at the replay, Bazana jumps like 5 feet in the air. It's amazing. So shout out.
All the guys were like, "What? How did that work?"
Yeah, that was crazy. I didn't know what happened when I saw it live.
That was
so shout out to Foster's and shout out to Australia and Bazana.
Australia. I love
and kangaroos.
Kangaroos.
My favorite. So
I also had some THC ice cream too.
Oh, I can
tell. But how did you consume that THC ice cream, Benny? Did you use a knife or a spoon? Or I see you've played Knifey Spoony before.
So I've never ever watched The Simpsons with Yuri before in my life.
Really?
And I started playing that clip that JP sent us. And 5 seconds into it, she's like playing a game of Knifey Spoony.
No, Terry said that.
That's me, yeah.
Oh, Terry said it. Oh, yeah.
So I fucking love The Simpsons. I follow too many Simpsons social media accounts, and one of them on Instagram had shared that. This was like Friday night when we were watching baseball and softball. And so it was the Knifey Spoony bit when Bart offends the entire nation of Australia. Relevant. And the whole family travels to apologize, and Bart learns the game Knifey Spoony. And then I'm flipping back and forth between the baseball and the softball games, and then the next a different Simpsons Instagram account tweeted the softball rules from the softball episode when Homer and the power plant played Chief Wiggin and the police department softball team. It's like, all right, no one leaves first without chugging a beer. Any runner who scores chugs a beer. You have to chug the beer at the end of every odd numbered innings. And also the fourth inning is the beer inning. And then Chief Wiggin was like, all right, shut up. We know how to play softball. And I was like, the Simpsons social media influencers just know exactly what I'm doing. But in the different Diamond sports games I'm watching. So the Belligerent Beavs group chat was just like 17 different Simpsons clips and us laughing our ass off like the fucking children we are. Shout out to Simpsons and Lincoln High School's own Matt Groening. Love the Simpsons. Love Australia.
Rice High School.
Love
That's
right. Shout out Andy.
Shout out
Wickram.
Lincoln.
Shout out Lincoln. Jake Bodie, friend of the pod.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
Barbara Babs.
Lathan Wallace.
Not a friend of the pod.
Right? Lathan Wallace played there. Yeah. Shout out Lathan Wallace.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, I'm drinking because of I'm missing Oregon, missing the Pacific Northwest, and since Oregon State got this momentous victory and it's moving on to the Super Regionals, I decided to get a beer that always reminds me of my time in the Pacific Northwest, and that is Deschutes Brewing Fresh Squeezed IPA. Here's the can. You can see it. Everyone listening to this podcast has had a fresh squeezed IPA before, so I'm not being very original, but I just wanted a taste of the soil of the great state where we all went to college, and is rightfully known as the Beaver State. So Deschutes Fresh Squeezed IPA, fucking delicious. And I have another one that I'll crack too next to me, but I'm halfway through this one, so I couldn't get the dramatic sound effect.
That's what I'm here for. Nice. There we go. Nice. Thanks, Terry.
We can't say nice anymore. We say noise.
Noise. It was a noise.
Well, lads, let's have a nice toast to the knifey spoony beavers and the Super Regionals. Cheers.
Yeah, cheers. What I want to say is that all along, Terry is actually an Australian voice actor pretending to be an American. So if you're wondering why his accent sounds so real, it's because his American Midwestern accent is the phony one.
Oi! Now I'm going to be self-conscious.
Cricket.
Steve Owen. Dingo babies. All right. Should we shout out our sponsors for this great episode of the Belligerent Beavs podcast? Yeah. I think we should. Yes, the 51st episode of the Belligerent Beavs podcast is brought to you by our friends over at seamheaded.com. Such a great website. Beaver fam, summer is here and baseball season is in full swing, and it's tourney time, and we're going to the Stoops, baby. And you're not ready for the Super Regionals at Goss or your hot beef summer until you visit seamheaded.com. Seamheaded is an independent lifestyle brand specializing in baseball-themed apparel. if you believe that baseball is more than a game, but a way of life, like we do, because that was all any of us did this entire fucking weekend, then Seam-Headed is the brand for you. And baseball is more than a game. I just said it. It's everything we did this weekend. And Seam-Headed celebrates the rich history of our national pastime with unique designs for all baseball enthusiasts. And it now has an all-new collection inspired by and for Belligerent Beavs listeners. That's right. Your soon-to-be four-time national championship Oregon State baseball team. And this podcast, that's crazy about them, has its own line of Seam-Headed shirts. They've got a hashtag Chop 'em tee, 2 different colorways of the Belligerent Beavs jersey, super dope Corvallis map tee, and much, much more available in men's, women's, and kids' sizes. And this is the best part, listeners. As a listener and supporter and a member of the Belligerent Beavs Beaver fam community, you get 31% off on all Seam-Headed Belligerent Beavs products. How, you ask? Just use promo code CHOP'EM at checkout. So hit up seamheaded.com today to get 31% off the Belligerent Beavs collection when you use promo code CHOP'EM at checkout for the noisest discount in the game. Chop 'em, you cannot spell without hope. And just in case you're wondering, that is CHOPEM at checkout. 31% off. What is the total price then, lads?
69%.
It's noise.
69. Noise.
60 noise.
69.
69%.
TLDR, go to seamheaded.com. There's cool stuff there. 31% off. Chop them at checkout. Nice. Well, we're gonna start. We've been talking for 33 drunk ass minutes. We're gonna keep going with the positivity. We gotta go. We'll get into the heartbreak of the softball team, and we got a couple other sports we need to mention as well. But of course, going to the Soups. Another super regional at Goss Stadium.
Super Beavs
gathered after a drunk ass weekend in Corvallis, and we were all very tired. The Super Bowl had just ended. I was still at JP's house, about to get like 3 hours to sleep and get on a ferry. Actually, no, that wasn't that trip. That was a different time. But Mike Rooney came on the show, and we all agreed that this team was going to host its own super regional. It didn't always look like that was going to happen this weekend, but we got there. We're staying home. We're staying in the tournament. Bring on the Auburn Tigers. Instant reactions from the weekend, and I guess into Monday, winning today 7-6 against the Commodores. How do you guys feel?
I feel good. I think that, if you look at it, compare the regionals, Oregon State against Auburn, like Auburn blew through their regionals. Winning 19-7, 21-7, 11-4, right? And we had really close games, but I think that those close games help us actually. You saw that Jacob Melton, he really struggled through the entirety of the regionals, and you felt like he was starting to come alive those last, definitely today, but even yesterday. So I think that's a good sign, but those close games are going to help us, right? Because postseason's all about pressure. It's all about, the being in the moment and being able to execute in that moment. And history is thrown out the window. It's also in Corvallis. So I think that's a huge upside. But yeah, when you have Jerpy on the mound, if we can get that game 1 win, that's going to be essential. We have to win game 1, but I think Goss is going to bring it. It's definitely going to sell out and be really, really loud there. And I think if we saw anything this past weekend, it was that these student athletes feed off of that environment. You heard the announcers saying so many times after they had, interviewed some of these players that it was, so-and-so's first time playing in front of a live crowd in Corvallis at a regional. And they brought that up for several different of the players. So it's very apparent that this is a really big deal and that the players are looking forward to this a lot. And I think that they probably realize that there's a bunch to improve from the regional round and the super regionals. But yeah, I feel good, really confident. And I think the boys are gonna show us good and get to Omaha.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. I think that they're gonna handle Auburn. I feel like this team that is still also relatively young. We don't talk about that as much as we did with the softball team, but we're only. I mean, because of the players that we're losing, I think it felt like there's a lot more maturity to this team, right? But in essence, they are still very young. And a lot of them are playing in this situation for the first time ever. And so I think we were caught off guard to begin this regional. And I think that New Mexico State game was one of those like holy shit moments where they were like, we can't lose this. We understand we can't. Like, this would be terrible if we do. And I think there's a lot that went on this weekend around like, okay, we clawed back. We were able to pull that out. I think the fan base was obviously like very concerned on how that happened, because they expected something to be a little bit more easy in that matchup. When it came to playing San Diego,
they were feeling themselves.
They were feeling themselves, yeah. And it was like, all right, well, now this is one of those matchups of which team is hotter or which team's more talented. And so with that outcome of what we expected for the New Mexico State game, I thought that gave this team a lot of confidence going into the Sunday matchup with Vandy, who kind of proved what Benny and I both had claimed last week, where it was like they're historically good, but they've had a down year. And we both were in agreement like, well, it doesn't mean that they're going to be easy out in regionals. And
no.
And they weren't yesterday on Sunday, and they weren't today either. So on the Monday matchup, like, that was a nail biter. But I think that this team survived in advance in a way that, like you said, is going to serve them really well in super regionals, because they've kind of got all the anxiety out of their system. Like, their kids.
I hope.
Well, you'd imagine so. Like, yeah, they've played enough close games and enough things that, like, I mean. First, like, if they would have lost Friday, that would have been it. That would have been it.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think we beat Vanderbilt on Saturday if we lose on Friday.
No.
After what Vanderbilt did.
And so, but also, I don't think that we would have. I do not think that we would have made it into the final anyways and won 2. So It's one of those things that's like, we needed to pull that one out, and I think it looked worse to the fan base than it actually probably felt to the players. And that's what they've parlayed through the next few games. Like, dude, Vandy's a good squad. They're a good team.
They're
like, clearly.
so good.
Yeah. So I'm not surprised that they really took us the distance today, and they just beat us up yesterday. But I mean, we're looking forward though. Like, I am slightly concerned about the Auburn matchup. Like you said, Benny, they like blew through their regional, and they handled business. And we even talked about, oh, hey, UCLA's in there. We could end up facing them. We kind of like overlooked the fact that Auburn's hosting. Of course, like, they should potentially walk away with that one. I mean, they've got some guys too. Sonny Deschutes is like, he's like the big Bambino up there with his bat. He's got the belly, he's got the rotating 360 degree front arm when he's standing in the box. Like, he looks like a dude that's gonna light up a stogie and call his shot. So he's also hit 20 bombs this year, and I am worried that if the offense doesn't show up as we have seen in the last month, that it's going to be a tough super regional. But I do believe, like you're saying again, Benny, that home field advantage is going to play a huge difference. And to tie it all the way back, I know it's a long way, but like, to tie it all the way back, Friday was really quiet because everyone expected something else to happen, and that we weren't delivering on that expectation as a team. And I think we were all caught off guard, whether you're at home, whether you're at Goss, and you just didn't know, like, how am I supposed to motivate these guys? They should be motivated to do this themselves at this stage of the regional. But it got louder and louder and louder, and it was the lowest attendance today of all of the Oregon State games this whole weekend. Was probably the loudest game. So I'm not worried about that home field advantage. I think that we're definitely going to bring it, and Goss is going to be lit.
For sure. I wouldn't ever dare to speak for the team. So when I say this, I'm not trying to speak for the team. I'm speaking for the three of us. We didn't give Vanderbilt nearly as much credit as we should have given them.
True.
And I think maybe after that first day when we saw them lose to San Diego, we we're like, yeah, these SEC boys aren't that good. Then we saw what they did to New Mexico State in the losers bracket to come back and get a shot against us and really outplayed us in that first game to the tune of an 8-1 beatdown. They are fast, athletic. They didn't make any mistakes in that first regional final game. And they were also very, very swaggy in a way that made me mad at first, but then just jealous later, because that was the drip from the drip system that I wanted to see dripping off of us. So yes, it was every bit of a roller coaster weekend. I remember last week thinking after the Pac-12 tournament and losing to Stanford in the championship game, being like, well, glad we faced some adversity going into the postseason, and there's no way the regional will be as stressful and ridiculous as these 5 games in Scottsdale. And then the fucking NCAA baseball tournament regional gods were like, oh, you naive fuck, hold my beer while we show you something. And just, but this is why there's so much use of the Moneyball meme of Brad Pitt as the great Billy Bean saying, how can you not be romantic about baseball? Such a roller coaster weekend. You can't say enough about Justin Boyd, a guy Mike Rooney talked with us a lot about last week, who was surprised, knew he was a good player, but was surprised at the glisten in Mitch Canham's eye, talking about him in preseason, how excited Mitch was for him, and to draw the off walk and hit the leadoff home run in today's game, and just everything in between, all the little things that guy does. And I don't think I really truly believed until today when that beautiful, magnificent, spectacular, poetic swing by Matthew Gretler absolutely launching that ball out of Goss and putting us into the lead for good. Holy shit, Matthew Gretler, a guy who's been good all season, but we talk about Jacob Melton a lot. We talk about Cooper Jerpy a lot, 2 guys who will probably be selected in the first 50 picks of the upcoming Major League Baseball draft. And there's just so many good players on this team. Gretler is one of those guys who's been fantastic and just absolute clutch, sick bomb. And how about Kyle Dernetti today? Whew. Coming up at the plate and then having just the worst error he could think of. Generally, you think of Dernetti in the opposite way.
Yeah.
And that's just, it's postseason baseball. Shit's going to get weird, but you have to react and you have to perform. And for him to shake it off and for the team to play the way they did after that and be like, it's okay, we're not going to let this mishap define us or take this game away from us. And hats off again to the Vanderbilt Commodores, who are a very talented baseball team.
Yep.
But I'm glad they're a very talented baseball team. Watching the rest of this baseball season back in Nashville, you could do worse to be at home. And fellas, that's your consolation, because we're staying home too. But we've got the Auburn Tigers and War Eagle coming to town. Fucking Takeo Spikes batting leadoff. And because we dismissed Vanderbilt today, I, of course, have to notice that JP has already compared an Auburn Tigers player to Babe Ruth, the Colossus of Clout, the Sultan of SWAT. We will not be the naysayers again who overlook an opponent. We have learned our lesson, Beaver fam. And we've got a great super regional coming to Corvallis, and it's going to be a fucking blast. Apparently, Goss is already sold out, but I'm sure there are ways to get tickets and sneak in potentially. Probably not, actually. I think security's beefed up since we were in college. But what a weekend in Corvallis, and there's going to be at least one more, and this is what it's all about this time of year.
The first game of the Super Regional is coinciding on the last day of finals week. So if any students decide to stick around, it's going to be real lit at Goss.
Sprint from your last final to the baseball stadium with just.
You don't even have to do that, dude. I had one Friday final in my entire collegiate career.
I don't think I did either.
And of course, it was on the day after St. Patrick's Day. So it was like, I remember that, Benny. You guys all, you and super secret producer Skinder came over and celebrated a day late St. Patrick's Day with me because I had a 7:45 final on the 18th on a Friday, and so it's really, really rare that there's a Friday final, and I guarantee you most of these students are going to be celebrating their summer freedom and have a whole day under their belt of doing so before first pitch.
We don't talk about our day jobs a lot on here for good reason. But as an academic administrator, whoever put that final for you at 7:45 a.m. the Friday after St. Patrick's Day should have gotten fucking fired. That is that is academic malpractice for
everybody. Yeah, like what professor wants to show up at 7:30?
And it's often not the professors either. So I guarantee you that administrator was the whatever the fuck those goddamn kids meme. That's exactly what he said as he slotted that into the schedule. What a bastard. I'm glad you made it through, JP, and had friends who suspended.
I was like, guys, come over. It's 11 a.m. We're drinking Guinness. We're getting some Jameson. We're getting some Mickey's. We're getting after it.
Everyone's already left Corvallis at that point. It's the Friday before spring break, so it's mid-March. It's rainy as shit. Yeah. It's 44 degrees.
No, it was actually a great day. It was awesome. We got hammered all day. I think we watched basketball, and then
I totally believe you remember exactly what the weather was after we got hammered all day.
No, I just remember being like, it's sunny out. I used to be able to call super secret producer Skinder and be like, hey, don't go to class, man. It's 70 degrees. And he'd be like, yeah, okay. you're right, dude. I'll be right over.
So easily swayed. But me more. I was swayed way more.
You weren't swayed
because raining in 40? Okay, I won't go to. Oh, it is raining in 40? It's too cold to go to class.
You can't be swayed. Yeah, you're already on the way to JP's before you even extended.
Yeah, I didn't have to bother with you.
You could look at it two ways. I was either really good at convincing, or I was really easily swayed.
You weren't on your way to class. You didn't even have a backpack on. Who are you trying to impress right now? Not us.
I walked by the building.
I remember when you guys were at Grand Oaks. It was like that was how you tried to separate yourselves from your social life so you could go to class.
Oh yeah.
But instead you just would take the bus in and be like, no, fuck class. I'm gonna go see my friends.
Far.
We'll go to class more if we live 30 minutes from campus. What an idea you two had. Yeah. Shocking it didn't work out the way you thought it would.
Oh God, no! It worked out exactly how I thought it would.
But you
did it though.
Hey, Grand Oaks had the pool and the hot tub.
And the hot tub, exactly. Right. I was just about to say, JP, please play 5 seconds of Hot Tubbing on the Late Night by Ashcon.
At the sausage fest, wasn't having fun.
Yeah. Is that the first time we've played that song on this pod?
No, I feel like we did it before.
That song was written about our time at Grand Oaks.
Exactly. Emphasis on the sausage fest part.
Yeah.
That part was for sure written about your time at Grand Oaks.
That's right. We took what we could get.
And you were literally working at a sausage place.
Yeah.
Shout out.
Shout
out Roxy Dogs. Shout out Roxy Dogs.
But Street Dogs is better, dude. I'm sorry. Across the street from the Peacock, and you can get nacho cheese on your hot dog at 2 a.m.
Street Dogs slaps.
Yeah.
There could be a place that pooped into a sausage socket and it would be better than Roxy Dogs. That place.
We'll move on from this, but I can't let a conversation about Roxy Dogs go without sharing this little bit about it. So at the time Benny was getting this job, I was dating a friend of all of ours. We won't mention the name. And I, as a foolish, naive new boyfriend, had the first few months of the relationship set up something to do on the month anniversary of each month, which is when you've been dating for a month, sounds great. Romantic gesture. I'm gonna be the man. I'm the best boyfriend in the world. Look how thoughtful I am. But then by like month 4, you're like, oh no. So I think it wasn't 4. It was a little bit longer, but it was like month 7 or 8, and I was like, fuck, I'm still on the hook for this. And I remember being like, what are we gonna do? It was the 2nd of the month. It was our month anniversary. And I was like, well, I think it's like a Tuesday night or something. Why don't we keep it low key and go to the new place Benny started working and just get a couple of Roxy dogs and then call it a night? I thought it was fun enough. Then it's a new business supporting local. And she just looked at me and was like, we are not doing that. I was done for well before I even floated that out there. But I just remember like, yeah, I was young and dumb enough to suggest Roxy Dogs as a month anniversary date. So shout out young Terry. You only learn by living and by failing.
Little does she know, you cannot spell romance without a 21-year-old Ben Wehage working at a sausage place.
I thought you were saying you can't spell romance without hot dog.
That's true too. It's a nice way to be romantic.
Yeah.
God, we suck at phonics on this pod. Anyway, we can stop talking about Roxy Dogs right now. Anything else on baseball before we move on?
Yes, I will say so the SEC this weekend did really good, guys. And I think that I am very confident going into the Supers. But looking at it, there were 2 seeded SEC teams that lost. But there was also teams like Ole Miss who fucking blew their regional apart as the number 3 seed in their regional. Who else? There's another team that was unseeded that won theirs as well.
We started recording this during the Oklahoma State Arkansas game. Do we have
Arkansas won? Yep.
Okay, so Arkansas is moving on.
So that was the other non-seeded team. And Oregon State it's very possible that Oregon State is going to be the only Pac-12 team left. Stanford right now, top of the 6, tied at 1-1. But Texas State has more hits than Stanford. Right. So that's anybody's game. So
the Pac-12 tournament sapped the whole conference of all of their energy. That's how good of a conference the Pac-12 is that its own tournament cannibalized the whole conference of champions, baby.
That's how we do it.
It's
sharpen iron.
Right. But I do think, right, that Oregon State sort of has everything going for them, right? Auburn blew through their regionals. Oregon State had trouble. And Oregon State's a young team. So I think that anything that any of the players did that felt like they weren't taking the regional 100% seriously, it's like they had their gimme, right? They very easily could have gotten knocked out of the regional. Totally. I think they're going to be 100% focused. And I think Auburn may come in, and it's tough to overlook the number 3 team in the country. And I don't think that they will, but they're coming in really hot. And so who knows how?
They could very likely come in and be like, yeah, we've got this. Our shit is together.
Yeah.
Right.
And then get served a plate of Goss got 'em.
Yeah.
But they have the king of crash. The Colossus of Clout.
All I'm saying is I think
SWAT.
Buckle up, because it's going to be a really, really fun super regional.
The behemoth of Bust.
Yeah.
That's not a great nickname. I'm just looking at Babe Ruth nicknames now. This isn't part of the podcast. The Sandlot mentioned the best ones. Shout out to the dog Hercules and James Earl Jones.
What a good movie, man. I'm going to go watch it now. Movie. I'm off. I'm out. I'm going to go watch Sandlot. I'm just triggered.
Nice. Yeah, we should do a watch of Sandlot sometime this summer and then just live tweet it from the Bebes account.
Ooh.
That's a good off-season program.
Yeah.
Good off-season programming.
Yeah. I got some ideas. We should do that.
Sweet.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Mm-hmm. Well, it wasn't all love and happiness on the diamond this weekend over in Oklahoma City. One of the greatest teams to ever play any athletic activity ever had a dream season come to an end. I am, of course, talking about Oregon State Beavers softball, who made it to the Women's College World Series in Oklahoma City, but dropped their first game in OKC to the Florida Gators, and then lost the win or go home match the next day to the Arizona Wildcats. And I know we have a lot of thoughts on this. It was happening simultaneously with the New Mexico State baseball game on Friday night. So there was a lot of emotions amongst all of our followers and listeners and the three of us as well. But obviously they played a very close, very hard-nosed game. 3-1 loss. It was great to see Mariah Mazon back out on the mound after missing the previous day's game. But just not enough to take it from the Arizona Wildcats, losing 3-1, ending one of the best Oregon State softball seasons ever. Certainly the best in the last 15 years or so. But yeah, what are your guys' just instant reactions to a very fun season, but a fun season with a sad ending?
Oh man, it was a rough way to go, just because I wanted to see this team be a team a little bit longer. I would have loved to see them just like play deeper into the tournament. I would have loved to see them win it, but I just wanted to see them play a little bit more. And I think for me, that was like the part where it was like, it's over. And I mean, I'm not even on the team. I feel like Mariah probably has a lot stronger feelings about like, it's over. Whoa. Right. But to me, it was like, damn, I feel like this, I don't know. I don't even know how to take it. Like, it could have gone better. It could have been different. Is this just it reminds me a bit of the baseball team in 2005 when they got back to the World Series for the first time in like 40 years or whatever it was. And they had guys like Jacoby and some of the young kids who carried them through in 2006 and 2007. But their leader was, Jacoby, and then he left to go pro after his junior season, and they bounced back even harder off of the foundation that he had laid with them. And so I feel like I'm not too distraught or upset that the season is over, because I feel like this team is going to be back. They're going to definitely be back. Yeah, obviously, Mariah, Bebes Hall of Famer, first ballot. We've already inducted her. And man, I don't know what happened with game one, but I do want to say, like, shout out, our girl, Sarah Handigas, and she, stepped in, and I don't think this was anticipated. I feel like this was a last minute call that they gave her the ball, put her in the circle to start game one. And, I think she did great for the situation she was tossed into. I also it was great to see Tarney Steptoe back and her getting in that game, getting some experience. She hadn't played in like 2 months or whatever it was, or almost 3 months, or 2.5 months. It was like end of March she had last played due to injury. And so having her back was a great thing to see. Obviously, I think by that point it felt a bit out of reach. I just don't know if the bats were able to make a climb like that at that point. But like, part of me also was like, well, we've got another game, so that's okay. And then maybe they felt that way too. I don't know, but it was such an exciting season. Shout out to the coaching staff, the team, to Mariah. Thank you. I haven't had that much fun watching softball in a long time. By the way, I do want to make a correction from last week, and maybe I think it was I that misspoke, but or me that misspoke. Terry, you're the writer. What's the writer?
I misspoke.
Yeah, and I meant to say that Mariah had the record for strikeouts, but I incorporated it with her 17 wins and the 17 complete games comment. So that 17 wins is by far not the single season school record. It is, I think, or complete games especially. So I think there's 35 wins. It was Brianne McGowan was 05 is our freshman year, my freshman year, Benny's freshman year, and she was and is the record holder. 36 wins in 05 for wins in the program in a single season. She also had 34 complete games. So Brianne McGowan was, and I remember that she was an absolute stud. Yeah. Thank you to listener Michael for pointing that out.
Shout out, Michael. I agree with you that this is reminiscent of that 05 Oregon State baseball team, in the fact that they, like you said, they hadn't made the tournament in a long time, and they did. And I think these tournaments, these national tournaments, are so unique in their setup and the intensity, because if you think like college baseball and college softball is not college football and college basketball, right? So you don't have the lights, camera, action on you throughout the season, and then all of a sudden you have it for like, either 2 games or 2 weeks, and that's tough mentally to deal with, I would imagine. And so this is how programs are built. Programs aren't built where you don't make the College World Series for an extended period of time and then you win it all. It's a process. And I think that right now they're building a foundation, and I think probably a foundation that's stronger than what we had imagined, definitely when they were going on that losing tear. So this is a step in the right direction, and it didn't feel very good this weekend, but I really do think that the experience that this very young team was able to capture in Oklahoma City, even though it was just 2 games, is going to pay dividends going into next year. And to sort of keep with the narrative of the comparison with the 05 baseball team, that team got knocked out after 2 games too. Mm-hmm. And like you said, they lost Jacoby and we're losing Mariah. So it is going to be, it doesn't mean that we're going to win the national championship the next few years, but I do think that it does.
Yeah. You heard it here first.
All right. Yeah. See, yeah.
By a final score of 42-14.
That's right.
Yeah.
But I do think that we can expect to see a steady improvement. And I think that next year, whereas this year, I don't think that the goal maybe internally was to make it to Oklahoma City, but I don't necessarily think that was if you're looking at it unbiasedly, that's a realistic expectation at the beginning of the year. Going into next year, I think it is. And, mm-hmm. And so this is, like I said, this is the way that things work. And I think that this is the way that you build a program in a healthy way. So as difficult as it was to see the team get knocked out, I think that they did gain some real valuable experience, and that the regional and super regional wins are really, something to look back on fondly and to be proud of, as an Oregon State fan.
For sure. And yeah, I echo everything that's been said. And I just think what it comes down to is what JP said, is I just wanted to watch this team be a team a little bit longer. I think even before all the bright lights of being in the NCAA tournament came on, and there's actually been a lot of great coverage about the viewership of this college softball tournament and this Women's College World Series. And I think we're at a great turning point in terms of equality and people paying attention to women's athletics and giving them the arena that they deserve. And comparison to, I think the Mega Aronovitz, who started at ESPN, I believe the last time Oregon State made it to the College World Series in 2006, had a great interview with Power Plays about how just the coverage of this event has evolved. But even before, there were cameras in their faces and this team was everywhere. Just the joy and excitement and fun that radiated off of them was was contagious and was undeniable. It was such a fun team to just even read recaps about and to type in the update into our show notes. Especially even back in February, we had basketball seasons that were sort of falling apart to different degrees, but just not living up to our hopes and dreams and other things that were taking place as well. And this team was a breath of just so much fresh air. And through every win, they get the big wins against big teams early in the season, and then just like goofy Instagram videos. And I think the 05 baseball comparison is perfect. And just thinking of Jacoby as Mariah, and Mariah as Jacoby is, I think, pretty on the nose. Oregon State wasn't a big baseball school when Jacoby got here as a freshman, and Mariah, in her just very, very eloquent and pointed post-game remarks after we lost to Arizona, I just wanted to make Oregon State a name in college softball, and she did that. She did that in spades, and I think the the fruits of her labor are going to just keep bearing on and on for years to come, and that's what's tough about college athletics is she's not going to be on the team necessarily. She's going to be, I'm sure one of the program's biggest fans and will be around, and no one around the program is going to forget her, and no one in the Beaver fam is going to forget her. But we will get to see this team be a team a little bit longer, but it'll be a team sort of without its captain and its main arm in the circle holding it down, and just as a leader and just an overall incredibly impressive young student athlete, but also as a performer too. Just like the pitchers who rake call formed by my incredible co-host JP Bertram was inspired by Mariah Mazon, and the great tweet, which I'm sure was orchestrated by Amy Sinicola, Mariah Mazon. It was just such an incredible season, and we had so much. I don't want this to be a competition between amongst Beaver on Beaver crime or anything like that. I had more fun researching and watching and learning about this team than any other team. And I say that even including the men's basketball run to the Elite Eight last year. Just every single video was so fun. Every single Instagram story was so fun. They were so ready for it. No moment was too big for them. And knowing that there's 14 freshmen coming back and ready to build off of what they did this year under Laura Berg is really exciting for the future, but also sad that Mariah is gone. And I know we mentioned we inducted her into the Bebes Hall of Fame last week, and I wish we could just keep inducting her every episode. I guess we can. It's our Hall of Fame. You can do whatever the hell we want.
Two-time inductee.
Mariah, I don't care who lifts the NCAA issued trophy at the end of this tournament. You are a champion. You are our champion. And this program was incredibly lucky to have you play for it these last 5 years. So shout out to Mariah. Shout out to Coach Berg. Shout out to every single player on the team. Cannot wait for next season. And just want to decompress and take a breath. And while I'm sad, just say, holy fuck, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And
a hell of a ride.
That was real. I got more invested, and I was willing and ready to just be all right, we're getting emotional about college softball for the first time in a while. And I was more into it than I even saw coming. So thank you for that, Oregon State softball. Such a ride. And also I want to mention in terms of, we love the content they put out at the beginning of the College World Series, Tarney Septo's father surprising her in Oklahoma City when she got off the bus all the way from Australia. This is just an Australian sports podcast now. Australian athletes and the national pastime.
Do you think Tarney and Travis just sit there and just cheers some Fostas and?
Well, Travis is too young to drink legally in the United States of America.
Well,
so,
maybe they go back to Australia.
Yeah, they go back home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, mates, what's the good word? But that video, brought tears in my eyes. That was amazing. I hope, Tarney was able to come back healthier next year and get a full season in. But yeah, that video and just everything, just you can't fake joy, you can't fake that kind of energy, and the young student athletes of the Oregon State softball team have this in spades, and obviously they have a great leader in Coach Berg. So the sky's the limit for the future, and just we'll never forget you, Mariah. Thank you.
Never. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Before Terry cries for the next 30 minutes. We talked about Montana State tickets. Where are we sitting,
We
Terry?
did. Wait. It switched, and I don't have my phone's charging in the next room. We're sitting in the Toyota something.
No,
Toyota.
Tanner Ridge.
Tanner Ridge, baby.
Tanner Ridge.
Yeah.
I don't the Tanner Ridge is the terrace.
Yeah, you
of-
can't spell Tanner Ridge without terrace.
Yeah.
Can
Or
you?
Terry, or you can.
Oh, but
not.
it's so close. They need a C.
Right.
Tanner Cridge.
Tanner Skridge.
Tanner Ridge. Yeah, with a pregame and postgame party at your old apartment, the Breckenridge apartment, on Barnes Avenue.
Yeah.
I
didn't remember
sorry
what
to
number it
whoever's
was.
living there now.
Is
Oh,
it?
yes,
Do you remember what it
Come
was,
on.
Benny?
You shred the Breck. Do you
What-
shred the
404?
Breck? Or do you
404?
do you guys
I thought-
shred the
I thought
Breck
it
or
was
do you shred
2200.
Steamboat with the frat?
2200.
Wait, are we talking about the address?
No,
was something stupid.
Our apartment number.
The unit number.
Oh, not 2200.
104?
remember.
204? 204?
No, it started. It was like D. It was.
Oh, P.
the building was-
P206.
Yeah.
P206.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
It didn't have cell phone service, is what I remember.
No, I had no service.
No.
Nothing.
Yeah,
Unless
we
you're
were
leaning out
deep-
my
deep
bedroom
in
window.
there.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I've been in Providence Park, my old stomping grounds. I used to run the media credentials check-in at that.
I have a photo of you there.
I know you do. I did more than that. I was photo marshal. I was on the field. For
What
the
is a
inaugural
photo marshal?
Making
It's
It's
sure
just
that-
a fancy way of saying an insider to Ben Weehage.
Shut up. You, shut up.
You're going to get Terry fired from every subsequent
You
job he
can't
has.
get fired from a job that doesn't pay you. This was when
Oh, yeah.
unpaid interns were still legal.
Yeah. Yeah, that was outlawed. I don't
An
know.
unpaid intern, like 3 years after me, sued the organization, which is kind of funny. I love the people I worked with there, but also overall not my favorite organization for obvious reasons. But no, photo marshal is essentially you make sure all of the photographers have everything they need, and that they also don't go and try to shoot in places they're not allowed to go.
Do you have your camera?
And-
Okay, good.
Yeah,
Did you ever
they put
enforce
me
it?
down there. Yeah. And
Come on.
I did this in later places too, where but that with the Timbers, like they gave me no training. They're just like, all right, if someone goes past this line, yell at them. And I was like, I'm 22. That dude is twice my age and like twice my like I was scrawny 22. You're like, I wasn't that scrawny. Let's be real. I had too much fun in college.
You were at the walk-up window twice a day.
Well, we'll say I was not a very intimidating young person. I think that's fair. And there'd be like these giant like sports photographers are badass, people often, and they're
okay.
and they're
Sure.
and
I don't know.
they're hauling like giant cameras and just way stronger than your boy. And I'm like, hey, sir, you can't do that. And they're like, who the fuck are you? No one said that to me, but I was very scared the first time. I had to, put a few years later when I was doing stuff in New York. I was ready to put the clamps down, especially on media who were asking players for autographs in my media zone. Hell nah. I confiscated more than one credential at that point.
Oh,
That
I
was
see.
when I was-
You confiscated autographs. That's what you should have done, and then you could
That's what I
assault them
should-
for money.
Yeah.
You're free.
Wait for them to do it,
Zlatan,
and I'll
that's
take that. Yeah. Yeah, and also Zlatan, I'll take your number too. We'll hang out and go get beers after this, but this guy can't hang out with you. Yeah, that's how I conned my way to being friends with the Zlatan. Anyway, so long story short, we're going to the Montana State game on September.
You guys, I'm so excited for this.
Wait, is it Tanner Ridge? Like that's
Tanner Ridge.
That's a fancy part. Are we fancy boys at this game?
Yeah, come
Yeah.
wearing your like Kentucky Derby attire. We should.
Yeah.
we should. Do
Oh
that.
yeah, hats. We should wear hats.
Yeah, big old
Bebe's
hats.
Derby hats?
Yeah.
Okay. I feel it.
The Portland
Like some
Derby.
bowlers. I might wear a bolo tie.
The Portland Derby, isn't that the racetrack? It's gone.
Yeah, it's no, that's Portland. Portland Meadows.
Portland
yeah,
Meadows.
that shit's gone.
Yeah,
Isn't that building still there though? Where
No,
you
it's
can, like,
it's
bet on
all
shit
gone.
then?
It's like an Amazon
Yeah.
distribution center now.
sorry.
I thought there was a.
No, it's gone. Portland Meadows it exists at the old gentleman's establishment off of like
That's
Columbia
it.
Boulevard. Yeah.
That's
we grabbed
it.
coffee close to it.
We got coffee.
there. Not there. Not
We got
there.
Not there.
Oh,
But-
not the girls next door coffee spot. I'm
No,
not talking
it was
about the name of it. That's
they
just
work
there's girls who work
interchangeably
there
between the
next
two.
door. Yeah. Okay.
No, it was the bikini barista across the parking lot.
Yeah,
When
the Portland Meadows.
Yeah, that's called
Annex.
girls next door or something. I think.
Girls. Yeah, I think
before Benny dropped me off at the airport. It was the last thing I did.
I literally drive by every time I go to the airport. It's like my
Yeah.
route to the airport. Yeah.
It is probably the most convenient place to get coffee near the airport.
I mean, other than the Starbucks in the airport.
I said
But-
near the airport, not in the airport.
you're
and
right. No,
fuck
that's true.
Starbucks. We took down big Starbucks in the last episode.
Yeah,
I can't.
That's right. Yeah, no, you're
no matter
right.
what your
Yeah,
feelings
yeah,
are about
they're
Bikini
bad. They're
Barista,
terrible.
Bikini Barista is better than Starbucks.
Soon,
True.
Starbucks is going to become a bikini barista coffee joint.
They can do
Oh,
whatever they
man.
want as long as they bring back the Seattle Supersonics.
Yeah.
That's the deal.
And if they
And
wanna
as
bring
long
back the
as long as they bring back the eggnog latte, which they took away this year, and I was fucking
They
pissed.
took that away?
Yes,
Oh,
What?
right?
assholes?
Who does that?
probably for more pumpkin spice stuff.
Oh
Pumpkin
my god!
spice sucks.
Actually, that's not true. I like pumpkin spice too, but like eggnog latte, man, that is like it just hits the spot.
Yeah.
That is the winter. I don't know, stomach gurgling happiness.
Yeah.
that-
Yeah,
It's where
that'll,
your shoulders are hiked up and you're trying to cover your body because it's so cold, and it's the taste of
it's
that
the,
feeling.
It's
Yeah.
the official drink of
Exactly.
holiday gut rot, which
Yeah.
we'll also all be in Portland for the PK 385 and
Yeah.
the Civil War game for Thanksgiving weekend, which I also realize is when the World Cup's going to be happening.
Oh my
so
god!
I'm-
We're not
I'm
a World
thinking-
Cup podcast.
We're not a World Cup podcast, but we're going to watch the World Cup. All of the U.S. national team
Yes,
games are
I like the World
at-
Cup.
in the group stage. They're at 11 a.m. up at
Oh,
summer
that's-
time.
that's
All of them
great.
are. Yeah, so we're
Oh,
good.
That's perfect.
I'm taking that whole week off work, by the way.
Same.
JP, I'm staying with you for like 9 days.
That's fine.
It's happened before.
Can I just say if and I would imagine most Beaver fans in the Northwest region have been to Providence Park or sort of know what it's all about, but I think this could be really special. I think that this, I've heard people say that this is solely because Reeser is being renovated and that they're not planning on making this an annual
they
thing.
play the whole season there then.
I know. And,
Yeah.
and they should make this an annual thing. I think that would be so cool.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I
hope
wouldn't be
they do.
surprised if it becomes not an annual thing, but like every other year when they, when we
Yeah.
have the game against like Portland State or Eastern Washington, right? Like that'll be played. in
That's Portland State's home field. Be careful.
I just
They
think that like
almost beat us when Lord Voldemort was our coach in Corvallis.
this game was scheduled before the announcement of the construction of the West Side. Doesn't mean that they didn't
It's
do
a
the
great idea.
anticipation of the announcement coming out. But the university still erred on the side of, hey, we may not have the capital to start construction in the timeline that would fit to take a home game and move it from Corvallis, meaning they were willing to gamble on that for the sake of it being a worthwhile experience for Beaver fans in the Portland metro area. And so I think it will become much more common. It used to be. I mean, the Civil War game used to be played there. So
Yeah.
Well, no, my point on that was the first rumor I heard was that we were going to play Oregon there. And I think
Ooh.
the only pushback about that is if we're giving up a home game, to
Home field
play-
advantage.
essentially play a year where we're supposed to host in neutral territory.
unless you did 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
Sure. Here's what I think. Rivalry games. Well, every game, but rivalry games specifically. Switch off every year.
Yeah.
Our place, your place, our place, your place. They call it home and home. That's terrible terminology. It doesn't make sense. What if the Civil War, Oregon State would be, so it would be this thing. So Reeser this year, Autzen next year, Portland the year after that, and then Reeser, Autzen, Portland. And it's just a 3 venue rotation as opposed to 2.
What about a
No
4-year?
benefits.
Reeser, Portland, Autzen, Portland, Reeser, Portland, Autzen, Portland. Go and go and go and go and go.
Wait,
Oh.
Reeser, Portland, Autzen, Portland, Reeser, Portland, Autzen, Portland. Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay,
every other
that might
year
make more
is
sense,
a mutual site, neutral site, mutual and
I
neutral
like
for
that.
this case.
Mutual,
Yeah.
mutual. Technically, every site's a mutual site if you're both there.
But I mean, mutual for the fan bases in a way.
Okay.
Yeah.
More,
I think you'd have
populated
to find a
areas.
way, right? You'd have to find a way to get more seats in there because Providence Park holds
Yeah, I
what
know,
25.
But they don't care about bodies
it's-
in the stands. They care about
30,
ticket
it's 30
sales.
Now. It's 30 now.
We
It's
paid
30.
$50 a seat for our seats, and that is like the
That's
going
true.
rate of like the
Against
entire
Montana State.
stadium. Yeah,
That's true.
that's
a
what
good
they
point.
care about. That's what they care
Tear
about.
down the Mac Club and build more
Yeah.
stands. Fuck that place.
Yeah.
It'll
As a kid
never
whose
happen.
parents were former members of the Mac Club, I agree.
Yeah.
Anyway, we've got some commit news. We always call for more defensive line help for the football team on this show, and we're getting it. This year, Joe Golden, defensive lineman from Northern Colorado, transferring to Corvallis. Welcome to the program, Joe. And then also come through today on the Twitters, right as the baseball game was starting, actually, Zakiah Sayez, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. 3-star edge from legendary St. Thomas Aquinas High School commits to the Beavs. And we got another one, too? Another commit?
Yeah, another commit is what did you say? Dorian Thomas, the tight end, a 3-star tight end from Kent Ridge High School in Washington. Well,
Oh, I thought we had him for.
yeah, but he did his visit this weekend and recommitted, but he also said that he's still open. He's still open to other schools. So I don't know what committing means, to be honest. So yeah, it says
That is a guy who likes to be wined and dined.
he committed to Oregon State,
And
but is open to all
69.
schools. Yeah,
Okay. All right, Murphy's on the river. Do your thing. Send Dorian Thomas a prime rib dinner to his house.
Send him a prime rib in a styrofoam box, please.
He has another visit coming up with Arizona, and he's been hearing it from Oklahoma and Texas. So, I mean, that'd be a nice get. Be a nice get for the Beavs.
Man,
Just because of the schools involved.
Right. Well, this dude, Zakiah Sayed, like his this is from Dashel. The other offers he had before committing to Oregon State, Florida State, Iowa State, Louisville, Mississippi State, Georgia Tech, Maryland, Pittsburgh, Wake Forest, and I quote, several group of 5 schools.
Well,
Several.
how
Damn,
many is several
that's a good list.
in your mind? In your mind, how many is several? For me, it's like 7. I don't know why, because maybe the sev of several.
Okay, so a couple is 2, a
Yeah.
few is 3.
For
I feel like
Oregonians,
some-
what's a grip? Is that like 100?
I think
a grip would be over 15.
A grip and a grip and several cover the same. I think if you're in 6 or 7, you can say several.
Okay.
Like, but it depends on things. Like if you had 6 or 7,
I'm going to
beers,
start
like,
saying several minus
had-
1 for 6.
You can have several. If you had 6 or 7 beers, you had several beers. If you had 6 or 7 wings, I don't think you had several wings. I think you had just like a regular amount of wings.
That's true.
So-
A
it depends
common
on what we're talking
man's
about
volume of wings.
What about if
yeah.
you're talking about millions of dollars? Would you say I have several millions? If you had like
If I had 2 million, I would say that I had several millions. Are you kidding
if I had
me?
$1,000,001, I
yeah.
have several million dollars.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
beyond the 1. I'm into the several.
So by
level.
that logic, if you have $2,000, could you say you have several $1,000s?
No, that still needs to
Yeah.
be a 7. No.
Because that's
Several.
no way.
Several minus 6.
There's a lot more leaps in that range that I'm concerned with. Anyway, there is
How
your
much is a grip?
how much is a grip? Listeners, how much is a grip?
Yeah.
Let us know. on Twitter and on Instagram. And in the 5-star reviews, you leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts.
Leave a grip of stars.
Leave a grip of stars and let us know how many a grip is, as long as it's 5 or more. It can't be less. I think that puts a nice bow on this super regional, super duper episode of the Belligerent Beavs Podcast, the 51st episode of this podcast. So happy the baseball team won and is keeping this party going, so we don't have to go into full off-season mode yet. We've got content coming. We've got meaningful baseball continuing at Goss Stadium. At Coleman Field. The atmosphere was amazing. If you made it out, we know our homie Zach Scoris was there. Shout out Zach for being part of that noise. I believe he was at all 4 games. If you're in Corvallis,
the noise.
Students make that noise. Shout out to you. Shout out to all Oregon State students. Shout out to the Beaver fam. Shout out to Gary Payton II, a major part of an NBA Finals win last night.
Huge part.
At Gary Dwayne, we love you. Keep balling. And from all of us here at the Belligerent Beavs, reminder to check out our friends at seamheaded.com and check out our shit at belligerentbeavs.com/merch. Always the freshest drip system on the internet's there. My name is Terry Horseman, at Terry Horseman on Twitter, at Terrence Horseman on Instagram. For my co-host, JP Bertram, at the Trial J on Twitter. He's too Trial to be real, and at JP Bertram on Instagram. And the man, the myth, the mustache, Benny Scoops, because he's got all the scoops. Benny with the good quaff, because he's got the good quaff. Benjamin Lawrence, Sebastian Wehage, at Beniel1986 on the social media channels. And to our new friend, the Golden Snitch, it opens at the close and it flies away from JP Bertram's palm right fucking not now. Oh, we're simply 3 muggles. We can't make this bird fly, but maybe someday. Check. Benny's in Elon's DMs. He can figure it out. Thank you so much. Shout out everyone. Shout out the noise that this magic bird is making it hard to sign off on this fucking episode. Thank you to our patron members for helping us out. We love you. If you're not on the Patreon yet, get in that shit. Hit us up in the Discord. And check us out at belligerentbeavs.com. And no matter what you do or where you go from here, whether you're watching the Beavs from Corvallis or Hawaii or across the pond or all the way down under,
having a nice beer.
Down under, having several nice beers after games of Knifey Spoony. No matter where you are in all those places, you can't spell Chopham without hope. And spelling Chopham gets you 31% off at checkout at seamheaded.com. Chopham!
Chop 'em!
Chop 'em!
Bring back Bernice, baby. Go Beavs.